Guys, what happens if I told you that every single thing you've ever learned about sales, frameworks, objection handling, what questions to ask, was an absolute waste of time if you don't get these 4 things in place? I spent years consuming all of the sales content I can get, courses, videos, books, practicing my craft day to day, and the thing which moved the needle the most were these things. I stopped looking for external skills and started actually looking internally. And that is the thing which will move the needle, and that's the thing we're going to get into today. So just a little bit about myself. I've been in sales my whole life, since I was 16 years old, dropping leaflets through the door. Now I work fully remote, high ticket sales, currently in Brazil, Latin America, because the time zones are great for the US. And I actually want to get into today the things that will improve you as a salesperson. So in the next 6 minutes, this is what we're going to get into. We're going to get into the 4 different areas that you need to get. We're going to get into the 4 different areas that you need to work on if you want to master sales. The first one is you must understand the importance of energy. High energy on your calls versus low energy on your calls, and how do we do one and not the other. The second one is you have to get clear on your mission. Is your mission, what you're going after, is that yours? Or has that been fed to you? Do you know the why behind your mission? The next one is the way that you show up in your life is exactly how your prospect will show up on your call. Your prospect is a mirror of you. And the fourth one is, I know you hear it a lot, but it's this abundance versus scarcity. So the first one is all about energy management. No one really talks about energy management in sales, but what actually is it? This is probably one of the highest leverage things on the list. Imagine when you come onto a call, when you've got low energy, you're stressed, you're anxious, you're not present, you're thinking about something else. Now compare that when you're on the call and you've got high energy, a high vitality for life. You're calm, you're relatable, you're present, you want to be there, and you have a genuine intention to help. What do you think the difference on most calls are? So consciously or unconsciously, your prospect will pick up on your energy. They don't know this, but they do. And in today's market, when there's so many different services, when there's so much choice, when, hate to break it to you, probably what you do, other people do as well. They could find another provider, maybe in a different way, but the same sort of thing. Energy is what will distinguish us from other sellers. And when we have high energy, the prospect wants to be there. When we have low energy, the prospect won't buy. So what we have to do is we have to look and create a list what gives us energy and what takes our energy. So for example, a few things that take my energy. I love cooking, but I hate cooking during the week because I have to work. So I don't cook, I outsource that. I don't like to live dirty, but cleaning doesn't really give me energy. So I outsource that. Even social media doesn't really give me energy. Too much of social media doesn't give me energy. So what do? I have a tool that schedules all of my posting. So I don't have to go into that field which takes my energy. Compare that to something which gives me energy, which is, meditation, time in nature, learning, spending time with people you love. That preserves and gives me energy. So you need to look at yourself and think, what gives me energy? What takes my energy? Do more of what gives, do less of what takes, and when you show up to the call, you will show up with high energy and you'll be able to sell more. So the next one is working towards a vision which isn't yours. So we live in a world which is filled by noise today. Social media, constantly other people's opinions. Maybe you've got your own noise in your head, your own thoughts which you're constantly racing through. And a lot of us, if we do have a vision or we do have a mission or we do have something we're working towards, potentially what we're actually working towards is not even what we actually want. It's just what we've seen on Instagram and we believe that will make us happy. So we're actually working towards something and we don't actually understand why. Why are we working towards that? And normally these things which we're fed, this vision that we're fed, is purely materialistic. It's pure materialism. So the problem with this is when you're grinding, when you're waking up early, when you're selling, when you're working hard, when you're making sacrifices every day, if your mission and what you're working towards, your vision, isn't pure and isn't what you want, you won't be aligned. you won't be calibrated, and you'll quit. You just won't do it. You won't reach the full potential because subconsciously or consciously you're working towards something that you don't even really want, or you don't know why you want it. Now compare that to actually really getting clear about what you want, not just materialistically, but where you want to live, if you want to have a family, the things you want to do in your life. When you really get clear about the why, and that disconnection from a vision which isn't yours, it bleeds into all parts of your life. You don't show up present on the calls, you can't deal with objections very well, you can't make sacrifices because you're not working towards something which is truly yours. Now compare this to a mission which is actually yours, something you're working towards, something you know you want, which isn't just materialistic pursuits. It's something deeper than that. Maybe you call it your mission, maybe you call it your higher self. You know, it can be where you want to live, how you want to spend your time, how you want to give back, what sort of family you want to have, what sort of man you want to present yourself to be, what sort of man you want to show up to your family. When you have this bigger vision, which you know the why behind, you can go through the hard days, you can make the sacrifices, you're going to be fully present on the sales calls because you know you're working towards something greater and something you actually want. So the quickest way to actually find out what this is turn off all the noise, turn off social media, turn off the noise of other people's opinions, turn off the noises in your own head. The best way to do it is go to nature with a pen and a pad. After an hour, after 2 hours, you'll start to recalibrate with nature. You'll start to realign with the rhythms of the world. And you'll start to feel a greater sense of peace. And over time, you'll start to actually listen to yourself. What do you want? And imagine your big vision as a sculpture. Renaissance times, it would take, I don't even know how long, maybe months, to chisel away at this sculpture. And just imagine this sculpture is your vision. You're chipping away slowly, day by day, week by week, and you're crafting your vision. You're chipping, and eventually you'll live with this sculptured vision that you'll be able to enjoy every single day. Don't chisel and create a sculpture that you don't enjoy. And that's what will happen if you don't follow your own vision and your own mission, and you just listen to what other people tell you should be your reason for success and happiness and your vision and your mission. You've got to find out your why. So the third one is how you show up in life is exactly how your prospects will show up with you. If you expect your prospect to jump on a call and make a decision and be decisive, but you're not decisive in your own life, how can you ask them that? If you're asking your prospect to invest time, money, energy in themselves to become better, but you don't do that in your own life, how do you expect them to do that? If you're afraid to spend money due to scarcity, but you're asking your prospect to spend their money when they haven't got potentially huge amounts, how do you expect to ask them that? If you're not disciplined with your own commitments and your own word and your own higher self, how do you expect your prospect to invest and work with you and do that? Sales is just a mirror of how we are, and if we are decisive, we invest in ourselves, we're committed to what we want to do, and we spend without scarcity, you'll find that the prospects who you attract, they will be the same, and you can ask them confidently with a truth in your voice, because if you ask them to do something that you don't do, there won't be a truth in your voice. And like I said to you earlier, that energy will be felt in the sales call and they won't buy. So when you actually start showing up in your own life in ways that you want your prospect to show up, your prospect will show up in those ways. I guarantee you. So the next one is abundance versus scarcity. I know you hear this a lot, and it's completely normal. In sales, you do go through dry patches. You do go through parts when you don't sell and you get desperate and you get in scarcity and the prospect feels that you're desperate to make the sale and they don't buy. It's a hard rut to get out of. But once you get out of it, you'll start to see that deals start flowing in more quicker because you're working from a place of detachment and a place of abundance. To make this more specific to closing and offers and sales, whether you're on an offer or you're selling your own service, this is really important. You must have 100% conviction in what you're selling. You must have 100% conviction that the thing you're selling or offering will help or solve the prospect's problems that they have. If you don't have this 100% certainty, you will sell from a place of scarcity. Why? Because you're thinking, if they don't buy and I've got a prospect tomorrow, maybe they won't buy either because, I don't even know if what we do can help them, and it will come across in the way you sell. But if you have 100% conviction that what you have will help your prospect and will solve their problems, it doesn't matter if this prospect doesn't buy, because the next call, they will buy, and the call after that, they will buy, and it will become a snowball because you know 100% that you can get the results that they want. You can solve their problems. This is why it's so important to have conviction in what you sell or what you have, because when you have conviction, you sell from a place of abundance, because you know if they don't want to buy, someone else will buy, because what you've got is so good and solves the problem of your market. Remember, conviction is abundance. So let's bring it all together. We've got the 4 areas and the 4 actions. So we need to make sure that we're managing our energy. So we need to see what is taking our energy and do less of that and do more of what gives. Saving, replenishing, and building your energy, it's worth spending money on. It's worth it. Because in the long run, you'll earn more, because you'll be selling from a higher place in terms of energy. The second one is you've got to get clear on your why behind your bigger vision. Don't work towards a vision which isn't yours in terms of what you want. The third one is you have to look at how you show up in your own life and show up how you would want your prospects or future clients to show up with you on the calls and if they were to work with you. The fourth one is you have to have 100% conviction in what you sell and what you offer, because conviction is abundance. And when you 100% believe that you can solve their problem, it doesn't matter if this prospect doesn't buy, because the next ones will. When you don't have that conviction, you're worried that no one will buy, and it comes across in the way that you sell. You're finally building the internal foundation of what allows you to see results from the external work that you put in. This is a channel where we talk about sales, freedom, not just in terms of financial, but in all parts, what freedom means to you, and also sales systems, growing, and just using sales and closing as the start of a life you truly want to live. Thanks for watching.